Hello, this is Chris Hammond with chrisdoc.com. Welcome back to my DNN Simple Article video series. In this, the third video in the series, I'm going to walk you through how you can actually install the source version of this module inside of your DNN instance and get it up and running so that you can actually start to work with it in that development environment. Now, in the previous video, I went through and I actually cloned the source of the module down into my development instance, but I have not actually configured that within DNN itself. So a couple prereqs for this video. We already have DNN installed with our development environment. We already have the DNN SimpleArticle repo cloned. And what we're going to kind of go through and do here is how do we install the module in that development environment, take a quick overview of the source code of the module, show you how to package that module. And then in the next video in the series, we're going to create a new custom display template for the module. Now, let's go ahead and switch over to our virtual machine where we're working with our local DNN development environment. So this is our local DNN environment. If I go into the extensions page, we can see that there is no DNN SimpleArticle module available to us at this point. Over here in Visual Studio, we do have that source code opened for the module. Now, in between the second and third video, I did make one quick change to this module just to clean up some of the issues that I had in the second video. In the project properties here under web, I went through and I configured our server information, which is basically apply server settings to all users stored in the project file. And it's a local IIS instance. And the URL for the project is dnndev.me/desktop/DNN SimpleArticle. Then it has an override application root URL, basically pointing back to dnndev.me. So that's our local development environment. So we have this source code available to us, but it's not yet ready inside of DNN itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can configure that. Well, if we go back to our development environment, in the extensions area, we can go to install extension. Now we can upload the extension package. To do that, we can go into, click on the box here. That'll allow us to browse. Now, if you go ahead and browse to the DNN SimpleArticle directory, which is found in C websites, dnndev.me/desktop modules, and then DNN SimpleArticle, there's actually an install folder in here, which has a large number of different versions of the module already available. Now, when we cloned the repo, all of that information came down for us. So these are versions that have been previously packaged and checked into the repository. So you can see they're all dated from March 19th, which is 2 days ago. Well, I've made a change to this module. I changed the project properties. I want to make sure that I save those changes, and I actually want to make sure that I don't lose them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to package this module again. It's very easy to do if you're using any of my module development templates or any of my custom modules. When you're in Visual Studio, if you switch into the release mode, now I have a drop-down list here for debug, release, and then the config manager. If you don't have that option, you can get to it up within the toolbars. But if you switch into release mode and you go to build and you choose build solution, when in release mode, if you do a build, and you compile, you should get a successful build and a package that you can then install. Now, what I've run into is I'm running a newer version of DNN than what I was previously using when compiling this module. So the module has references, if we go into the references section here, to .NET Nuke, the DLL, which is in the bin folder of the website, but it is using an older version. The modules is targeting an older .NET Framework version than what DNN 4 or DNN 9.4 uses. So I can change the project properties here. If I right click on the project in the Solution Explorer, I go into the Application tab. My target framework for the project is currently 4.5.1. Well, with DNN 9.4, it is now .NET Framework 4.7.2. So I'm going to change that. Now, when I change that, Visual Studio basically prompts us and says, hey, are you sure you want to do that? I clicked on yes. Now, one thing that process does when you change the target framework on a module using my templates, it actually creates a new web.config file in the root of your project. And we don't need that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that web.config file. So we've changed the target framework. We're still currently targeting the release configuration. I'm going to do another build here. So go to build solution. And what we should see is we get build 1 succeeded, 0 failed, 0 up to date, etc. So we have now recompiled the module. And if we switch back over here to our browser, where I still had the install folder open, you can see that the last two files here, there's an install and a source package. They are dated today, 3/21/2020. Now, when we're installing the module in our development environment, we've already cloned the repository, so all the files already exist. All we're essentially doing when we install it inside of DNN is we're going to upload a package. DNN is going to execute the SQL scripts and register the module. It really does not matter if we want to do the install or the source package in this development environment because all of the source code already exists. So to demonstrate that, I'm just going to choose the install package here. That's going to upload the zip file into DNN itself. It's going to open up the manifest. Now, because we actually just recompiled the module, that actually changes the DLLs that are in the bin folder. So DNN itself has to kind of recompile. It's that just-in-time compiling for a web application. So it's going to take a moment as it finishes this first process here. But it says upload complete. We should then get into the next part of the process, which will show us some of the manifest information. Go ahead and click on next. We have some version and release notes. Go ahead and accept the license and then click on next to complete the installation. Now, if we go ahead and click done on that option and close our flyout windows, I'm going to refresh the page. So I'm refreshing the home page here of my local DNN development environment. And what you're going to see once it comes back, again, it has to recompile everything because we just put new DLLs in the bin folder. But once it comes back, if we load that host extensions page or the settings extensions page, what we should see, and I'll wait for the spinner to finish up here in the browser, what we should see is that the DNNSimpleArticle module will be available to us. All right, so let's go into settings, extensions. We now have the DNNSimpleArticle module, version 0.2.7. Now, when I'm working with a module in a local development environment, it is my preference to always create a new page for that module. I don't want to throw it on the home page of my development environment. I want to create a new page and I want to place the module on that new page. I just find it easier for testing and for organizational purposes. So I'm going to navigate into the pages menu here. I'm going to choose add page and I'm going to create a new page called DNNSimpleArticle. Really doesn't matter what you call it, but for my preferences, I like to call it the same as the name of the module. And we'll go ahead and throw the permissions out there so that anyone hitting our local development environment, logged in or not, will be able to see the page. Now you can choose a default template for that page. If you use the default template, it's going to create an HTML module on that page. We don't need that. So I'm going to choose the none specified option and then click add page. So this is going to create a new page for us called DNNSimpleArticle. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and place the module on the page. So we're now here on the new page. We're going to go down into the bar at the bottom of the page. We're already in edit mode. If we go ahead and click on add module, we should see the DNNSimpleArticle module available to us in that add module modal window. I'm going to choose that module. And once we've chosen the module, wait for DNN to come back here and we'll place it into a pane within that module or within that page. So I will go ahead and throw it into the content pane for now. And we now have the simple article module here. If we go to click on add article, we should see the interface, which gives us title, the link, description, and the body for creating a new article here. Now let's switch back over to Visual Studio. We still have the source code open to us. It's all available. If we want to start making changes to it, we can. Now, a very, very quick overview of some of the source. This particular module has a view control, view.ascx. That view control has a single placeholder control on it. So what actually happens within this particular module is it has a placeholder. If you look at the source code, or the code behind for the view control, the code behind is set up so that on page load, the module or this control looks to see what should I display. And there's two controls that there's three controls that it can display. They're found within the controls folder, also within the project. So there's a control called article list. There's a control called article view, and there's a control called flexible list. So article list was my initial approach at just displaying a list of articles. So if you add an article, it would show you one. If you added 2 articles, it would show you 2, and it would show a title and a description. The article view is if you clicked on one of those links for one of those articles, it would show you the contents or the details of that particular article. Within the past few months, I've created this new flexible list option, which allows you a little more templated approach to controlling the way that the list of articles is going to display. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to work with that and create a new flexible list template available. So the view control basically says, okay, by default, I'm going to load the article list module or the article list control. Now, in the module settings, there is a display type option, a setting that you can change that will show you flexible list or article list. Now, if an article ID is passed in the URL, it will load the article view control instead. So this view.ascx file is really just kind of trying to determine what it should display for the contents of this particular module, either a list of articles, a flexible list of articles, or a single article. So it chooses the control, and then basically down in here, it says, okay, let me go load that control. I'm going to apply the module configuration to it. I'm going to get the path to define the ID of that particular control. And then I'm going to inject that control into that placeholder control on the front end. So the view control is pretty simple. If you get into article view, the HTML here allows you to see the title, the author information for an article, the body of the article, if you have any tags that you're utilizing. If you are an admin, there's an edit link and a delete link. The code behind for the article view basically goes out and loads up the article itself. So if an article ID is being passed in, now this is a property in the base class of our view controls for article ID, goes out and it loads that article ID and then determines how it's going to display that information. Loads up the title, loads up the author information, loads up the body. And then depending on if you're an admin or not, shows you some additional information. So that's just a very quick overview of some of the source within this particular module. There's some other things in here. There's a view model. Honestly, it's been so long since I messed around with this. I'm not sure if I'm actually doing anything with the view model and the view models. The intention was to create some services for, let's see if you go into the services folder here, for services API, the ability to pull back a list of articles. I've got a lot of things I want to try to do with this module. You can dig into the source code, see some of those examples here. And I'm going to try to wrap up the module here in the next couple of weeks with a new official release. When I say wrap up, I don't mean end it. I just mean kind of get a new version out there that you can download. If you don't want to mess with the source code, you don't have to download the source. You can go grab the install package and work with that in your production environments. So that was a quick overview, not so quick, but an overview of the source code for this module, how to package it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and create a new flexible list template. Now, before we go, let me go ahead and make sure to get the changes that we've made for this particular package into our Git repository so they're up to date. So I'm going to switch over here to my website's dnndev.me, desktop modules, DNNSimpleArticle module folder. I'm going to do a git add -a capital. I'm going to do a git commit, give a description of the commit, and then I'm going to go ahead and push that up into my Git repo there on GitHub. So all the changes you've seen so far in this particular module are available in the source in the repository on GitHub. So this is Chris Hammond with chrisdoc.com. Thanks for watching the video.